Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
20-some years, it's always different energy based on whoever the commander-in-chief is. You know, from 2008 to 2016, people loved him because he was full of hope and change and hope and hopeful change. And I'm not gonna front. I like going overseas internationally because anytime I went over, people treated me like I was related to Obama. I like that. You know what I mean? Like, I remember the first time I went to Egypt in 2010, you'd have thought it was Sasha, Malia, and Dean in the White House Christmas photo. Because I landed and the driver had my name on the sign. I was like, yo, my man, that's me. He was like, oh, Braga. So where are you from? I said, man, I'm from America. He was like, oh my gosh, you're from Obama. You're from Obama. He's from Obama. I said, oh, dog, it's America. He's like, no, but you know Obama. You do. And I got into it. I was like, well, I call him Barry if we gonna get real. That's my dude right there. But after Obama, it was a slightly different energy.
Hey, it's A Drink with Derek. Welcome to the podcast. Derek Richards here in Las Vegas, where I met my guest a couple weeks ago at the Comedy Cellar at the Rio here in Vegas. Comedian, actor, singer, writer, musician, voiceover artist, and quite honestly, overachiever. Really, you're making the rest of us look like complete crap.
Oh, man.
Dean Edwards, DeanEdwards.net. Also, former SNL cast member. He's got a special, or he's part of the Tiffany Haddish special, They Ready, which is on Netflix, correct?
Yeah. Oh, it's my special though. I'm milking that. I'm like, Tiffany she gave now with season 2. It's been 12 different comics their own opportunity to have specials on Netflix, and it's just her name to get people's attention. But then myself, Tony Woods, Barbara Carlisle, Godfrey, Aaron Jackson, Kim. I just can't think of Kimberly's last name. I'm sorry, Kim, but just April Macy, Ida Rodriguez, Tracy Ashley, Marlo, Flame, just some great comics that have been doing their thing for a while. That Tiffany came up with, and comics that we all knew each other from the circuit, like you and I. We became fast friends working the Comedy Cellar out at the lovely Rio in Las Vegas, and chilling while eating at the employee dining room. Because comedians don't like spending their own money if they don't have to.
No, absolutely. And I give huge props to Tiffany for putting this thing together, because so many of these different specials that you end up seeing come out is what Comedy Central likes to think of as a quote unquote breakout artist or whatever. And some of these people, I mean, quite frankly, I'm not, taking a dump on Comedy Central, but I watch these specials and I go, I know people a lot funnier that have not had that opportunity.
Right.
And so I think it's super, super cool that Tiffany put this together and is getting people out there that are seasoned veterans that are hilarious.
Yeah,
and
man.
Just have not gotten the TV time that they deserve.
Exactly. I think she did a great job with both seasons. I'm particularly happy that she included me in season 2, because season 2 we shot that during the pandemic. We shot them outside. A lot of people don't realize, even after watching that, we shot the actual stand-up portions of the shows outdoors. We shot in front of the Long Beach Terrace Theater, which is the same theater that, to me, the greatest stand-up concert in history, Richard Pryor Live in Concert, was shot inside of that venue. And we shot sort of this roundtable discussion on the actual stage where Richard shot back in 79.
Oh, that is super cool.
They built a stage in front of the venue because it was, right in the midst of COVID. This was October 2020. And people had their masks on, were socially distant. So if you look closely, there are a couple of shots, profile shots where you can see a palm tree off in the distance, but shout out to not only Tiffany, but Paige Hurwitz and Wanda Sykes, Push It Productions, for just doing a phenomenal job with the production value, and Paige for doing a great job directing, and making sure that the majority of people, aside from these interviews, people don't know. Anytime I tell people, yeah, we shot that outside, they're like, huh? But yeah, we shot them outside.
Well, and people don't realize the level of production that goes into producing something like this in an arena that is not what the production company is used to. Because if they're inside a theater, they know exactly where to position the cameras. If they've shot it there before, they know this is how this is going to sound. But outside, you've got all kinds of different elements that can come into play here. Whether it's a plane coming by or a bird taking a dump on you as you're on stage. I mean, all that stuff can happen.
Yeah, man. Godfrey had 2 helicopters go by on the first night we shot. While he was on stage, I had 2 loud motorcycles drown out a punchline on a joke, and so that's the beauty of when you shoot comedy specials. For the most part, they're going to shoot 2 shows, and then they might edit together, or they might just say, we got a better second show than first show, which I'm all for, because I experienced it firsthand. And after, but also shooting it the first time is that you sort of work the kinks out. You get to say, okay, I'm in a different city. Let me get a feeling the first night, see how the crowd reacts, how the crowd responds. Because also keep in mind, we were all stuck in the house for 6 months. I only had I had 4 weeks to prepare that special. I had 4 weeks of road work, going out on the weekends to Indianapolis, to Rhode Island, to Minneapolis, and also New York City. But for the most part, clubs weren't really there. There wasn't a lot of work, and you and I both know, normally if you're preparing for anything that's going to get televised, you're out a couple of times a night. It's going to the gym, honing and economizing your word choice and verbiage, so that by the time you are shooting the final night of shooting, you're like, it's concise. You've mastered the entire set. And fortunately, and I think that's another salute to Tiffany. She knew who she could rely on to, rise to the challenge and work under that type of pressure, where didn't have a lot of stage time to prepare, but knew they could still come up with some brilliant material, and I'm proud of what we presented.
How long were you out of commission during the lockdown, when you just didn't do anything until the time you went back on stage?
It was 6 months. It was my last show, I want to say, was the Sunday everything shut down. I think that was around March 15th,
right,
2020. And my next time on stage was around September 1st. I think I'd done 1 or 2 shows in Central Park, because some of the clubs in New York City were doing shows in the park. One of them was great. The other one, traffic was an issue, and I was like, okay, that's enough. I don't need to do that anymore. So it wasn't the same. But then the first time I was really back on stage was at Acme in Minneapolis, that first weekend of September. So I was off. I was off for 6 months, man. That's the longest since I started in February '92. That's the longest I've ever not been on stage.
February '92. So you had 9 years in you before you got onto Saturday Night Live.
Yeah,
because you were on Saturday Night Live from when? It was 2001.
01 to 03. It was actually this September, a week and a half from now, September 11th, 2021 is the 20th anniversary, not only from the tragedy of 9/11, but it was also supposed to be my first full day of work at SNL.
Your first day
at
SNL was on 9/11.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be. We got preempted.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So it was actually I'm part of this new documentary called Too Soon. I'm not sure what network it's airing on, but it's a retrospective, a look back at comedy after 9/11, and they interviewed, I know, myself and a couple other people from SNL, and I think probably Jon Stewart and just a lot of comics, Russell Peters, a lot of people. But they've been working on it for about 5 years, so I was happy when they sent me a message saying it's finally coming out.
So it's called Too Soon.
Too soon, yeah.
Too soon. People need to keep an eye on that. But Saturday Night Live, I want to talk about this for a second. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How did you get spotted? And then said, where somebody was in the crowd and said, "We want you to audition for SNL." How does that process go?
You know what? Every cast member that's been on that show for the last, now going into its 47th season, I think everyone has some unique story that got them on the show. It wasn't a show I was necessarily aiming for, because I didn't even know how you went about it. But I had auditioned for Mad TV earlier that summer. I had a great audition. And I got a call back right after I left. I got a call back to go in front of producers the next day. So I was excited. And then my manager was having a stand-up showcase that night at a club in New York City. So I had a great set because I was excited. I was like, yo, I got a call back from Mad TV. It turns out 2 weeks later, I find out Mad TV was offering me a job, and SNL happened to be in the audience at that showcase. And so, a wee bit of serendipity, a lot of long hard work and preparation, and a big hint of God saying, your turn, and I wound up, auditioning for them. That was mid-July. I auditioned the week before I went to Montreal, and less than a week later, was told I had booked the show. So
what was that process like as far as the audition goes? I mean, now, so you go up, you do this killer set. Somebody from SNL is there.
Yeah.
And they come up, and did they come up and say hi, introduce themselves? No, they just disappear, and all of a sudden your manager gets a call. You had no idea.
They were actually there to see another comic that was on the showcase, and I just, like I said, everything happens in its time for its reason, because I just was in such a good space. I was so excited about getting a call back, because you get fewer callbacks than you get callbacks, right? And so I was excited to have gotten a call back, and it turns out they were in the audience and contacted my reps, my agents, and my agent, called. He was like, when he said Mad TV wants to hire you for 6 episodes, I was like, man, that's what's up. And I said, wait, that was the good news? What's the better news? He was like, better news is that the people from SNL were in the audience that night that you did that showcase. And I'm like, so, I don't know what that means. I'm like, so now I just wanted to work, Derek. Sure. I just wanted to work. My future wife was pregnant at the time with our eldest now, and so I was like, if I can get a job that can help cover the expenses, I'm good. So if Mad TV, so when he said, I said, well, what do we do now? He was like, I get to do what an agent does,
and drain your bank account.
Yeah, no, I mean, he did. Jim has that, that was 10% that I had no problem giving away, because they really
heck no.
Yeah, they did a great job, and that's still, here 20 years later, and people still, no matter what I do, career-wise, people still have questions. But I also understand why people have questions, because it's such an institution, it's such a treasure, an American treasure, worldwide treasure, really.
Well, and for you to be a part of that iconic institution,
right,
everybody knows. Everybody, you can automatically say SNL, and people know exactly what this is. There's not a lot of shows,
right,
that people can say that about. People can't just throw initials out there and say, "Oh, okay, cool, yeah."
Right, exactly. right. Yeah, Steve Byrne was on my Monday Night Live on Instagram this past Monday, and he was like, "Dude, I was up there hanging out with Colin Jost and Mike Che, and they showed me, where you guys pitch the host on Monday night. And then we're on the 17th floor and we walk down this hallway, and the hallway has all of these headshots of everyone that's ever been on the show. And who do I see? And I was like, he was like, dude, I loved you and hated you at the same time, because I was like, dude, that's history. You're part of that wall forever. And then look, I'm getting goosebumps because I still, it's still an awesome grouping, an awesome fraternity of talented individuals to be a part.
Oh my God, yeah. Now, how was the audition process? So you get called in there. I mean, did they put you in? Did they want you to create scenarios? Did they say, okay, here's a sketch. How would you do this character? Was it kind of them trying to see exactly your range of what you could and couldn't do?
Well, I think the standard, at least the standard at the time, but I don't think it's changed that much. Most sketch shows, when they're doing auditions, when they're having auditions, they usually want to see 3 original characters, and 3 impressions. Then they usually give you 3 minutes. This is like 3 cubed. It's 3 characters and 3 impressions in 3 minutes. And so for me, I didn't say this earlier, and I've said this in numerous interviews and podcasts. The reason I think I was so good when I auditioned for Mad TV and then eventually SNL was because I was so bad. About a year and a half prior, there was a sketch show on the now defunct UPN network that they flew me out to LA for. And I was excited because I was finally going to LA, finally had an opportunity. And I was awful. I got bombed. It was bad. My manager called me the next day when I got back. He's like, yeah, they said it didn't go well. And they were excited. They really were excited about what they saw as a stand-up. But at the time, I didn't really have sketch legs. And for anyone that's watching this should know that stand-up comedy, improv comedy, sketch comedy, they're different muscles. And so I wound up, after I stunk, I wound up taking some classes with Second City, because I said I never wanted to be in that situation, Derek, where I believed that I let down not only myself but the people that had believed in me. And so I wanted to make sure that I was ready. So I always reflect and think, what, I needed to have that bomb for the UPN sketch show in order for Mad TV and SNL for me to prepare for the future, so that when the Mad TV audition came, I was ready. And then by the time the SNL audition came, I knew that the material was good because it had already crushed with Mad TV, and because the audition was supposed to be 3 minutes, but I was in there for about 10 because she started throwing ideas and asking me who else can you do? Where I started I did 3 characters that were but then I did I said, here's my impression of a Black award show that Chris Rock and Chris Tucker are hosting, and Jay-Z and Erykah Badu are doing a duet, and then Sam Jackson and Denzel Washington are giving a Lifetime Achievement Award to James Earl Jones. And I said that. And then I just, similar to what I did in my Netflix special, I said, what, to me, there's something impressive when you're bouncing, as opposed to having to stop and ruin the momentum and set up and said, and here's Denzel, and here's, I set them all up top. And then I can just go from Denzel to Chris Rock to Chris Tucker. I can just bounce around. And because when Lauren, when you get hired and you sit down and meet with him, before he hires you, he has to have a meeting and size you up. And he was like, we really were impressed with I liked your writing. I liked the writing of what you brought. And for me, that's I think what had me most excited. I was like, okay, I'm talented, but they see that I at least have a funny perspective.
Now, what's your favorite impression to do? Is it one of those characters that you just mentioned?
It's probably Tracy Morgan. I love doing Tracy. I love Denzel for a while, but everybody and their mother, does Denzel. I don't know if they necessarily do it as good as me, huh? but they,
I love doing Tracy because you know he Tracy could go there. He could say whatever's on his mind. He could say whatever's on his mind, and you're allowed to go there because it's Tracy Morgan.
Give me Tracy Morgan. Give me Tracy Morgan as Joe Biden in a press conference right now.
Listen, I don't know why everybody's mad the way I'm running the country. I mean, you saw Agent Orange was in there. You didn't do much better. And I'm bringing swag to the White House. I'm bringing swag and big hands. I'm bringing big hands.
All right,
don't let me go over. I'll get a whole country pregnant.
Give me Denzel Washington evacuating troops from Afghanistan.
So here's the thing. We have a situation here where you may want to stay. I understand, love, honor, country, but you got to get out. Huh? You got to get out. So let's go now.
What? So you go through this process. You meet with Lorne Michaels, and then at this point, do you know that you got the gig at that point, or is it after you meet with Lorne and then your agent calls you and says?
No, when the last thing Lorne said to me in the meeting was, "Good, we'll see you here," and you leave the office. And mind you, I'm flying to. I knew I kind of had the job because I was supposed to fly up to. I auditioned on Thursday the 12th. And I was supposed to go to Montreal on Wednesday, the 18th. On Monday, the 16th, my agents called and said, yes, Lorne wants to meet with you on Wednesday. And me being green and young and naive, I was like, but I'm going to Montreal on Wednesday, and I've worked so hard to get to Montreal. I want to go to Montreal. And he's like, they already know that. We've already clarified. And Lorne's office, they're getting you a ticket to fly out later that afternoon. And at that point, logic and probably parts of the military training hit me, and I said, "Oh, he wants to size me up. He wants to meet me to make sure I'm not a nutcase, right?
Sure.
That I'm easy to work with, So at that point, my afro was really big, and so I think it was like my afro was probably.
Are we talking Drew Pearson?
It was
Dallas Cowboys big?
Yeah, it was. There are pictures on the internets, and you can see like those old headshots. But I had a lot of hair, and so because knowing that they do a lot of wigs on SNL because of the character work,
right?
My manager has spoken with Lorne's manager, who's Bernie Brillstein, rest in peace. Bernie Brillstein had suggested to my manager, he said, "Yeah, now what's with his hair? Because they do a lot of wigs." And so when my manager told me that, I said, "You know what, I'll braid it just to make sure he sees." So when I went to meet with him, I think I'm the only cast member of Saturday Night Live that ever went to meet with Lorne with cornrows. But it served the purpose so that when he said, with your hair, I said, you know what? I know you do a lot of wigs. That's why I wore it this way, so you could see the difference with how I wore it during the screen test. And then he elaborated. He said, because when Tim Meadows first started, his hair was really low, but by the end, he had dreadlocks. And so them doing wigs, you could see, he looked like a Klingon from the Next Generation, And so, so after the meeting, "Good, we'll see you here." When I walked out, the car to bring me to, I think to LaGuardia to fly up to Montreal was waiting downstairs. But before as I walk out his office, one of the producers, Marcy Klein, shout out to Marcy. Marcy's like, so I said, "Nah, he was nice." It's like, so here, I said, do I have the job? She's like, "Yes." I said, "Oh, because he didn't say." So then I went in the bathroom, said a little prayer, cried in the cab, called moms, called my wife, and funny thing, I have that on camera somewhere. I have a videotape of it. I used to really record any and everything I did. So there's a lot of B-roll of that time period.
No, but that's super cool because I talk to a lot of guys today, even, acts that are coming up. And I mean, I started in 93 and you started in 92, correct? Right. And so there's so many things that I go back and, video recorders, like back when we started, were big and bulky and a huge pain to carry around. You didn't have the option of your phone to go ahead and take video and stuff like that. And so like I literally go back in boxes and look at pictures from gigs from years ago and me and comedy buddies on the road. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't believe, some of the pictures that you pull out. And so many people don't, I think, take enough stock in recording those memories.
Yeah, when I started, I was a communications and media arts major, and I was about to go to film school. So I had a little Sony high camcorder, and I had my first set on stage. I had my first album. I have, I taped everything, and so I have boxes of little high video, and then I think a year before I got SNL, they came out with the mini HD, and so I had a little camera was about that wide, and I could just palm quarter that I just walk around. I would just record any and everything and hope I didn't piss anybody off.
Yeah, you can go back and dig through that video and see what's worth something now.
Oh, dude, I'm sure. I just did a Rolling Stone because of 9/11. Unfortunately, the 20th anniversary. Rolling Stone just did an interview with, or I did an interview with Rolling Stone. I think they interviewed a bunch of cast members from the show and writers from the show, just to talk about what this documentary is going to be discussing. And I remember, I went and started looking for, pictures that I could send them. I was like, wow, I had a lot of, I have our first show, me, Seth Meyers, and Jeff Richards. It was our first show, and I have us in, the green screen tights, because we were doing something where we were we were fish. Right. And so we were just floating heads. And it was a tragic time period, with what we all had to endure, especially in New York City. But it was also very exciting, juxtaposing what was occurring in the world with what was happening, career-wise in 30 Rockefeller Plaza was amazing.
Well, what's the schedule like? People talk about, when you listen to interviews of people that were SNL cast members, and they talk about how grueling the schedule was.
Yes, it's a lot, man, because
what's that process like for the people that don't, the layperson that clicks it on and they watch the show, and they obviously are not stupid. They get that there's a writing process and a vetting process in terms of, yes, we'll do this sketch, we won't do that one. I mean, how many are presented for an episode? How many get cut?
Right. So the show, people don't realize a 90-minute show, a 90-minute live show of comedy takes about 6 days to produce. So on Monday, using our first week as an example, right? The very first episode. So is Reese Witherspoon is the guest host. Alicia Keys is the musical guest. Reese comes in Monday evening, probably say around 5-6 o'clock. She meets with Lauren's cadre of lieutenants. Then all of the writers and all of the cast members all file into Lauren's office. We all go around the room, and everyone's pitching something they might work on, or something just to get a laugh in the room, or something you're not gonna work on, but something that might be absurd, but it'll get a laugh.
So all these ideas were directly pitched with Lauren sitting there, with Lorne Michaels.
Lauren is so. If I'm sitting where Lauren at his desk, I'm sitting where Lauren is. Reese is in a leather chair sitting in front of his desk, and we are all We're all lined up around the opposite wall and squeezed into. It's not a big space, and so you figure. Right. When I was on, I think there were 15, eventually 16 cast members, and then figure another 20, 25 writers. So you have about 40 40, 50 people squeeze in, a couple of producers. Everybody pitches the idea. And then some people hang out, may jump on the idea. A lot of people would go to bars and maybe, bounce ideas around. You might stay in your office immediately after the pitch meeting. One of the producers might walk around with Reese and bring her to each cast member and the writer's offices to, go over the ideas. Oh, I noticed. Now, do you have any accents you want to do? Oh, you know what? I'd love to do a Latina accent. Oh, so maybe I'll write something where she's playing, a Dominican, and I'll write a Washington Heights spoof, whatever, because you want to keep it timely. That's Monday night. Then Tuesday night, people start filing. I always showed up early because I was one of 2 black males and one of 3 black people, including Maya Rudolph. So I always was like, hey, I want to make sure they know I really want to be here, right? So I was like, I don't want to, because I was in the Army. When I was in the Army, I remember they said, my recruiter said, do everything you can to blend in. You don't want to look like you're not appreciating the opportunity. So I was like, I want to make. So I would show up sometimes, at 2:00 in the afternoon. Other people weren't showing up till 5, 6 o'clock. But I really was excited to be there, Derek.
Yeah.
I really was like, I've waited so long to get a Hollywood check, and do this. So I'm here, so I want to put as much effort and energy towards making it work. The rest of the cast members and writers file in throughout the day. Everyone's usually there by 6, 7 o'clock. They might order. There are a couple of different restaurants they would order food from and just leave it on the table in the main writer's room. Lauren would have maybe 1 or 2 cast members go out to dinner with the guest host. So when Reese Witherspoon was there, she was married to Ryan Phillippe. So Ryan Phillippe, Lauren, I don't remember who else was there, like maybe 1 or 2 other writers or cast members. And I just kicked it with Ryan Phillippe that night. Like he and I,
nice.
We spoke about boxing because you have to also understand that if a guest host has never hosted the show, it's very intimidating. It's very intimidating because they're used to working on television or film where there's a lot of downtime. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. Whereas this is flying without a net. This is live television beamed out to millions. And so that can be very nerve-wracking. So that's Tuesday night. Now you still have to get back to the office because if you have something you wanted to write, everyone else has gotten a jump and everyone else has already been able to partner up with different writers and different cast members. And so I'm like, damn, now I'm behind the gun. I started working on something with my buddy Max Brooks. So let's see if he's made any had any success moving forward with that. Then by Wednesday morning, everyone that's written something has submitted whatever they've submitted. It could be anywhere, could be close to 60 sketches, man. You might have 60 sketches written, ranging from 3 and 4 pages to 10 pages, each page representing 30 seconds. That all gets scrutinized. Sometimes you would work all night, get home Wednesday morning, and then have to come back for the table read. Might have to get back for table read around, 1:30, 2 p.m. Table read might start at 2 p.m. and go until maybe 4:35 p.m. You'd read through maybe 20, 25 sketches, break for dinner, go eat, come back, knock out the last half, the remaining 20 sketches, go grab dinner or order dinner. Find out. It was very Fame. It reminds you of Fame, where after you've read through all these sketches, now you go to Lauren's office and it has a list of what sketches are going to at least go to the dress rehearsal show.
Sure.
So there might be,
So even at dress rehearsal, you're still cutting stuff.
Yeah. So peeps. So you might have, there might be, say that 23 sketches. They've narrowed down those, 45, 50.
Sure.
Sketches. They've narrowed those down to 22 sketches, right? So they're going to block maybe 11 on Thursday. They're going to block 11 on Friday. If you're lucky, say you're in 4, I think that first week I was in 4 sketches, I think. Going dress rehearsal. I was in there. Jamie Foxx had just hosted the MTV the VMAs, so I was in a sketch where I was playing Jamie Foxx. I was in the Little Mermaid sketch I mentioned earlier. I think I probably did some for Update, but it didn't go. So
right.
And I know I was in one other sketch, and then they added a Celebrity Jeopardy. So if you're fortunate, you'll have maybe 2 to block. If you're fortunate, you'll have all of your sketches to block on Thursday. That way you don't have to come in Friday. But it wasn't unfortunate if you got to come to work at your dream job. So
sure.
If I had 2 sketches, to the frustration is if you have like one sketch blocks at 12:30 Thursday, and then the next one you're in doesn't block until 7 p.m. So you had,
right.
after you had a 5-hour. I used to go and hang out in the Tower Records in Times Square. I used to just get lost, like in between, just to kill time. If I wasn't working on some funny, I would go and just,
that's a great place to get lost.
Oh, dude, I used to just, I was a big, I'm a huge music head, so I like getting the dust on my hands, just listening to different albums. Come back, block the second one, then do it all again Friday, and then Saturday, show up. I think we had to get there for 1, and they would block. We would block all the. We would do a run through, a full on dress run through of each sketch for about 30 to 40 minutes. Then they'd load in an audience. You'd break for dinner, load in an audience at 8 p.m. They would do a full-on live dress rehearsal with a full audience. At one point, Jimmy was doing warm-ups when I first got there, but I eventually took over warming up the audience, singing Jimmy Fallon.
Okay.
And then eventually I took over doing warm-ups where I'm just, getting the crowd's energy hyped up, singing, doing whatever, maybe some stand-up, some jokes. Do the dress rehearsal show. The dress rehearsal show is actually if anytime people wanted to come, I'd say, at the dress rehearsal show, you're going to see more. You get to see things that are going to get cut. But people want to go to the live show because it's the live show.
Sure, exactly.
But people would come in, you do the dress rehearsal show. You'd see where a sketch was funnier on Wednesday than it actually is in front of a real audience. Maybe they can salvage it. Maybe it is funny, but it might be a little offensive. It might not land. Though you might want it to land and come from a place of irreverence and irony, but it might come off a little angry.
Sure.
So they might cut it. There are a million reasons why a sketch gets cut. After you say the host says good night during the dress rehearsal show, is probably at this point probably 10:30. We break. We chill in our dressing rooms, and then one of the PAs would come around saying, it's time. Everyone would file up to Lauren's office on the 8th floor, which overlooks Studio 8H. We'd all crowd in. I always sat, there was like a little step up, and I would just sit on that area. I think Tracy was there. Seth was right here. Jeff was here, and everybody had the same place. That's wherever you went, that's where you stayed. You didn't, mess up the equilibrium. And you look and you see the whiteboard and you see what sketches didn't make it, because if a sketch was supposed to be horizontal, if it didn't work, it was vertical and it was off to the side. And you said, okay, good. Okay, that sketch made it. Oh, you know what? that last minute Celebrity Jeopardy, they wrote where I'm playing Chris Tucker. That's it, right? That's going to be the first sketch coming out of after Weekend Update. You know, so that's
right.
And then you do the show. And for that first show, we had Giuliani and the Firemen were on stage with us. Lauren did that. Can we be funny? Why start now? You know, it's like this classic, you know, banter between,
sure,
you know, then Mayor Rudolph Giuliani and the producer of the show, Lauren Michaels. And I think that for the entire America, especially the world, I think people kind of just exhaled and said, "Yo, yeah, let's get back to business. We can laugh again," you know. And so it was, and then
that's a lot of pressure. I mean, that you know, that is like the nation is going through what we went through, and this show, this iconic comedy sketch show,
right,
is coming back.
Right.
Okay, what are they going to do? So, I mean, the viewership for that had to be insane.
I think it was. I know we won an Emmy that year, and I think it was deserving because because I know at least one or two things I got on that season, but I think we just it was time. You know, comedy is timing, and I think timing wise, we just had great timing. We had a pulse, and it was very safe. That first episode, it was very evergreen. I don't think we pushed the envelope too much because we were just like, all right, here, let's just ease, you know, let's
ease. Yeah, you just rip the Band-Aid off. I mean, this is everybody's still very raw coming out of this. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be going too far over the edge. You got an Emmy though. That's pretty. I would carry that around.
Well, here's what's funny. We won an Emmy for writing, so I didn't get the Emmy, but I still.
Oh, come on.
I'm like, I wrote something and it made it on the air that season, so I have an Emmy in my head.
I'm going on eBay. I'm going to buy you an Emmy. I'm going to put your name on the bottom of it because I think you are. Because I think you deserve it. Now, so the show. So you're on for a couple years. How does the exit process work with that show?
Exit process. I found that I was shooting a film, and my agent called and he said, "Yeah, they didn't renew you." I was like, "All right, well, let's all those people that were offering me a deal prior to me getting SNL." That was the beauty of having gone to Montreal right before, or right as I was getting it. Was there were a lot of people that were interested in you know being in business with me, and so I was able to found out early July, and by early August, I had a deal with ABC Touchstone.
Well, what went through your head when because you have this insane level of excitement, enthusiasm,
right.
All my hard work paid off when you get the show,
right?
And then when they go, yeah, they didn't renew you,
right?
Was there anything in your head at that? Did you think, you know what, I think I did my time here, or was it, or was it a big disappointment?
No, it was a big disappointment because I wanted to do more on the show. I don't believe I believe I had some decent at bats, but I also know that the show now has a better idea of how to use talent of color in a wider variety of ways now than they did back then. Back when I was on the show, back when Chris Rock was on the show, back when Jerry Minor, you know, up until I'd say the last 12 to 15 years, I don't think you saw sketches where you'd see multiple Black people in the sketch at the same time.
Interesting.
When I was on, I always say Tracy was the alpha Black person, and I was the beta go-to Black person. My first season, I was a new toy because I could do a bunch of impressions, and so here, let's just throw. If we need somebody to do an impression of somebody Black, give it to Dean. But season 2, Will Ferrell's not there. Anna Gasteyer's gone. A million fans leave with Will Ferrell and Anna, and so suddenly the show is looking to focus on the stars of the show, which I get. But I also know if you're focusing on the stars of the show, that I'm like, well, I like to, I remember there were a couple of times where there were sketches. I was like, well, I look more like that character than I think Tracy does, but
Right.
Tracy had more name recognition, so they were like, well, let's have Tracy in it. And also, if I'm a writer and I'm writing something, I know
Tracy's going to knock it out of the park just by being himself.
people go from recognition. I'm just
Right.
This tall black guy to some of the people, so they're like, who's this guy? I was always self-conscious when I was there, that people secure, like Britney Spears. I'm Britney Spears there. I'm making sure that I introduce myself to her security as a cast member so that he doesn't think some random black dude is just, trying to say what's up to Britney. That's a true story. Like, hey man, you know what? I work here. I'm not a janitor.
Who was your favorite guest host to work with?
I don't have one favorite. I say like my top 5 favorites. Obviously, Reese Witherspoon because she was my first.
Right.
I had a lot of fun with Gwyneth Paltrow, Cameron Diaz, Queen Latifah, and Bernie Mac.
Oh, Bernie.
Those are my top 5. And then,
man,
and Matt Damon was real cool too. He was real cool too.
Bernie, God rest his soul.
Yeah, God bless. Bernie was the best, man.
That was way too young.
Yeah.
Cocktail that gets you in trouble.
You know what? I don't know if you realize I don't drink. When I saw you had that, I was like, I don't drink. But
okay.
But
did you never not drink? You just never got into it?
I've never drank. I never saw a benefit. For me, I never had some good old agua. No, I never drank. I never, when I decided I wanted to do this comedy thing, Eddie Murphy was what inspired me to become a comic. And when I first, decided I wanted to do this in the early 80s, I remember every interview they made a big deal about, so you don't drink, Eddie Murphy, so you don't drink or smoke, and Eddie was like, yeah, man, but I mean, so I still got swag. And so I was like, oh well, I get, but as a kid, I'm looking like, oh, he doesn't drink or smoke. And I'm also looking at Pryor, who did drink and did smoke a lot. And so I'm like, you know what? Richard burned himself up and had to have 2/3 of his body skin grafted. Eddie didn't, and he's winning. So I was like, I'm gonna go the Murphy route. And so I used to make my parents drinks. I used to bring my dad his Heinekens. I've tasted beer. I never liked it.
That's interesting.
It's
interesting only because this business lends itself to so many different vices, whether it's booze, whether it's drugs, whatever. And obviously for you being involved in that SNL mix, I mean, you had cast members that, would obviously do whatever they needed to do to stay awake and to, to write and be creative. And they had certain different outlets that they did. So for you to not be part of that is a testament to you being able to kind of go, I'm not gonna go this path.
It was never a benefit. And I never saw anyone while I was on the show indulge. I don't even count weed, but as far as like anything heavy, I never saw anyone indulge. I never heard of anyone necessarily indulge. I'm sure people have their vices in the real world as well as Hollywood. And I remember first time someone offered me cocaine was at an SNL after party, which scared the hell out of me. And I was like, let me get out of here because I don't want anybody to think that the black dude has drugs. I was always self-conscious, man. But it's funny because people always praise it, but there's also sort of a peer pressure that permeates being a stand-up, because you and I both know after performing, the crowd loves what you do. So they usually, hey, we're doing shots. You gotta do shots. And it amazes me how complete strangers will talk to you and get offended if you say no, and I say no, we're doing shots. I'm like, oh no, thank you. Come on, you're doing. All right. And you want to say, hey, dog, no means no. I don't know,
Right.
but they keep pressing. Then eventually, when I finally say, oh, dude, I don't drink, then and I don't like getting to that point because I don't want to deal with the explanation. But usually, as soon as I say, oh, I don't drink, the automatic default is, oh, he must have a drinking problem. Oh, I'm sorry, man.
Sure.
You in a program, like, nah, I just don't drink. And then it turns into you get vilified. Like, you don't drink? What are you, gay? I'm like, whoa, how did that have to do with my sex?
I like how that connection happens.
Yeah.
But sadly, and certainly plenty of gigs that I'm sure we've done through the years, in the crowd afterwards, that's the default.
Yeah. So now usually when I say I don't drink, they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, yeah, I'm working on it. I just leave it at that. That usually scares people.
Somebody says, yeah, if I offer somebody a drink and they're like, I don't want anything, I don't drink. I'm like, cool.
That's it.
That's
it.
No big deal. So what's your vice? And if you say something like loving my daughters too much, I'm going to jump through the screen.
No, you know what my big
and
thing
smack the crap out of
you. Know what I love doing? And because I was I am a movie junkie. Dog.
Yes, you are.
I love going to the movies. I love going on the road.
You saw more movies that week we were working together than I think I've seen in probably 2 or 3 years. I mean, I'm like every single day. Yeah, saw this movie. I'm like, man. That's and I enjoy going. I just don't. Not for any reason. I'm just like, I just didn't, I'll watch it on TV or whatever. But I love the movie experience. So
and that's why, man. Because when I was a kid, my parents, we would it's funny now. I think our children, and when I say our generation that have kids, we've gone above and beyond to give our children what we didn't have. And when back in the days when I was growing up, going to dinner was special, right? It was like you didn't just go to a restaurant. Like if you went to a restaurant, it was either for a special occasion,
sure,
or your parents were like, we're going to a restaurant on Saturday, like going to a restaurant on Saturday night, right? Now kids are just used to it. Now everyone I know has kids that they go and do sushi and hibachi and all types of hoity-toity restaurants. So the same with movies. We used to like going to the movie was a big deal in the households, with an experience in our household. And I used to I go to the movies and I think of my youth. I remember my dad taking me and my brother and both of our best friends to see Conan the Barbarian in the movie theaters, and
man,
big bucket of popcorn and the Raisinets and the Coca-Cola. You were balling. You know what I mean? So,
sure.
Well, I like going. I like sitting in the darkness. Obviously, I also, because of COVID, people are more reluctant. But I think that's the beauty of having what I call entertainer hours, is that we can go to the movies when everybody else is at work and the movie theater's empty. So I think I saw 3 movies while I was in Vegas. I saw The Protege. Jeez,
you saw that M. Night Shyamalan movie too.
Oh, The Protege, Old, and Hugh and I saw one other movie, and the movie theaters were pretty empty.
Yeah.
They were pretty. As a matter of fact, when we saw Old, Hugh and I were the only 2 people in the theater. So I was like, oh, I can take my mask down. Nobody's in here breathing.
Sure.
So yeah, so that's my vice.
No, that's cool. Like I said, it's like I knew you were. I know that was your thing.
Yeah.
When you were out here, now you've got like I said, you've got the Tiffany Haddish special They Ready, which is on Netflix. Soon, the documentary that's going to be coming out here soon.
Yeah.
A couple of quick things that I like to throw at you. Fill in the blank stuff.
Okay.
As we wrap up, here we go. And then I'm gonna have you do something at the end here.
Okay.
As well, but here we go. I've got into this. Have you ever played Cards Against Humanity? I've never. Here's the funny thing. I've never played, but I pull out cards and I just read them, and they just make me laugh. So I mean, have you played this game before?
So the reason I laughed is because one of our family members gave us this game years ago, but we could tell it was just a re-gift. So we just regifted it back to them. So it's one of those things. It's still sitting in the plastic at my mother's house. We've never opened it.
So Cards Against Humanity is the fruitcake of the Edwards household.
Right. Yes. That's exactly.
Repackage it. Okay, here we go. Fill in the blank. A romantic candlelit dinner would be incomplete without blank.
Without the wax.
The class field trip was completely ruined by blank.
By the earwax that got in the ice cream.
Here we go. Fun tip. When your man asks you to go down on him, try surprising him with blank instead.
With dentures. Take the dentures out. You're real gummy.
And finally, I want you to play Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, geez.
And I am showing up at your house to ask your daughter out.
Motherfucker, why are you in my doorway?
Perfect. Dean Edwards. Dude, I can't wait to see you next time you're back out here in Vegas, or hopefully when I get out to New York to hang with you again. Had such a great time working with you at the Comedy Cellar at the Rio, my friend. DeanEdwards.net.
I'm gonna tell Esty I'm probably looking to come back out maybe in December. And for everybody watching, check out the Father Muggin Protocol every Monday night. Check out our YouTube channel. I am Dean Edwards. And check out my show, the Father Muggin Protocol. Very similar to this. I've had every comic from Gaffigan to Tiffany to Sebastian Maniscalco, Dion Cole. We just did our 67th episode. They're all up on my IG page, and there are about 20 episodes that we actually moved over to, and we made horizontal instead of vertical on my YouTube channel. Some great interviews. Gina Yasheray's episode, Ali Sadiq's episode. Some great stories where you get to hear what comics went through in order to get to the level of success that they have.
That is so cool. And people can hit your social media off of your website too, correct?
I am Dean Edwards.
I am Dean Edwards, or DeanEdwards.net is your website too, where they can go ahead and find it there too. Sure. Check it out on Instagram Monday. You're awesome, man. Super funny, and can't wait to see you again, my friend.
Thanks, Derek. Take care, bro.
Take care, buddy.
All right,
big thanks to our sponsors, VegasSportsAdvantage.com. If you're going to sports bet with your head. VegasSportsAdvantage.com. These guys do the legwork. They do the research. They find out everything that needs to be known about the game, and they make their predictions based on that information. VegasSportsAdvantage.com. Stick with them. They will make you money. Also, check out my album, Double Down. Derek Richards' Double Down, releasing on September 10th everywhere. You can check it out on the SiriusXM satellite radio app. Just type in Derek Richards Double Down, and that pops up. September 11th, I'm going to be in Tampa, Florida at the Strass Center doing a benefit for Crack Up Cancer. Crackupcancer.com for tickets. And then the following week, which is going to be September 15 through 18, I will be at Visani Comedy Club in Port Charlotte, Florida. See you down there. DerekRichards.com is my website. See you on the road.
Thanks for listening to A Drink with Derek. Find out when Derek is appearing near you by checking out DerekRichards.com. See you next time for A Drink with Derek.